All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We are here today talking about maximizing Amazon sales and advertising performance in 2023. I am here with Asha Balsad from Etopia Consultancy. We got to meet not long ago at the AmaFest over in Brighton, and she spoke there and was super impressed about what she had to share. So I'm excited for all of you to learn about Asha, learn a little bit from her expertise, a little bit about what Etopia does, and for you to know about how that blends in with DataHawk as well, of course. So to get things started off, I do want to just drop this term because you're going to hear this term again. Asha is going to explain what it is, but Amazon mindset. We're all Amazon sellers out there, everybody on this call. So you're really going to want to know what this is. So I'm happy you tuned in and happy to get into it. So Asha, thank you very much for joining us today and being with us. And to get us started, for you, you've had this really awesome career, 13 plus years in your journey with the Amazon experience. So can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself and about Etopia and how things have evolved?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. So my career started very much at Amazon in the UK market, where it was a very small business. And I remember telling people that they used to work for this business called Amazon. And people used to say, who are they? Flash forward 13 years, and I think even 2-year-olds know who Amazon is these days. And I started my career very much in marketplace, and I understood sellers, FBA, and I worked on some very exciting projects, and I did a bit of work across retail as well. I then went to work for a very well-known toy company called Tomy UK, and I managed their Amazon business, so pretty much did the same job on the other side of the table for them. So in the space of about 8 years, I had experience of working at Amazon and understanding the beast that they are today, as well as how to manage them from the other side of the table. And then that experience took another turn for me, and then I went to work for another huge toy business called Melissa & Doug, and I managed all of Amazon for them across Western Europe. The most exciting part of that role was the fact that Amazon had just moved to pan-EU agreements in vendor. And I was part of creating a hub, a unit in a business to manage that pan-EU and what the implications were to a business at that time. And then in 2019, very much thought, well, what else is there left to do in my career, and thought consultancy. And we, I set up as a freelancer to be very transparent with you. And I had one ethos, which was I wanted to work with as many brands as possible, both across seller and vendor. And I wanted to help them unpick their Amazon strategy. And I stand by this ethos, and I stand by this, which there are fantastic businesses out there that have a very reputable business with Amazon, but need coaching and into how to manage it strategically. And what I mean by strategically, I mean that it needs to come from the top. It needs to come from senior managers. I don't believe you can put national account managers in a place to manage your Amazon business. It requires skilled people. And I love unpicking that with brands and looking at people's businesses and telling them what's working, what's not, and coming up with some very clear recommendations on how to improve it. And that stems from all things from sales, marketing, operations. And that is the last 13 years of what I've been doing.
Yeah, and there's a couple things they said there. One, even a 2-year-old knows about Amazon for sure. I know my children do, because the excuse of, oh, the store is closed now, I can't take you to get a toy. They said, well, Amazon's open. Great. And then also you said, these businesses, the great businesses still need help. I always say this, I know compared to athletics, even the best athletes in the world have a coach. Exactly. So it's always something to help out. So thank you very much. Tell us about that. So now, again, I dropped that term earlier. So you have coined the phrase Amazon mindset. Could you please elaborate on what that means for our audience?
Absolutely. So as I was in the very early part of launching Etopia, what I found most exciting was that there were certain people out there that embrace Amazon. To me, Amazon is Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. And therefore, the people that have the Amazon mindset love and hate Amazon, but actually know that they cannot ignore them, and they're willing to invest in people, tools, agencies to help support and nurture the Amazon business. But they also understand that Amazon cannot be treated like a golden child, is the way I want to put it. It needs to be managed correctly amongst your sales, marketing, and operations strategy. So, for example, you can't put all your eggs in the Amazon basket. You need to have wider distribution and manage your channels, but also understand that if you are going to trade with other channels, there's going to be conflict with the way they then appear through third party, as an example. Or it could be in marketing, where Amazon advertising is treated like a P&L exercise in an Amazon account, but actually Amazon advertising should be formulated part of a wider marketing strategy, which is where budgets should be coming into. And or operations, which is how do you service the biggest online giant through operations, and whether it's through just-in-time models, whether it's pallet ordering, whether it's vendor flex, whether it's FBA, whether it's FBM, all these terms. It's actually senior leaders understanding that Amazon is not just an account, it's not just any account, it's a huge operational program in sales, marketing, and operations.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love that. I love that, and again, you spoke about that a little bit in Brighton as well, and was able to go a little deeper. And unfortunately, everyone can't hear that presentation you did. But with that, I think that's a great way of priming. You're the perfect person to help the audience out today. So diving into some other questions. So kind of getting us started talking about 2023. In your mind, what is an underrated piece of advertising advice that all brands selling on Amazon should follow?
So the biggest thing that, and the quickest win, I'd say, in the world of Amazon advertising is data. You know, you've got to be looking at the data that you have accessible to you, and there's loads. You know, Amazon is really notoriously good at providing data. You don't need to rush to spend all of the budgets that you've got. Slow and steady. I think brands should not be scared to advertise 365 days a year. You know, gone are the days where you only advertise at peak periods for you, whether, you know, if it's summer is a peak period for you, or whether Christmas is a peak period for you. Typically, a lot of brands put a lot of their budget around that area. Actually, it's about building momentum. It's about going slow and steady. It's about driving traffic and driving conversion rates to your products in a longevity type of way, with the view that you can convert them even more when there are peak trading periods like Prime Day, like outdoor events, like Christmas, like Black Friday. I would also say that you need to have a very clear strategy and a very clear game plan from the outset, which is built around profitability on the certain products, brand awareness, and how do you continue to drive incrementality as a brand halo effect across your brand. And if you can create some of these strategies, in 2023, it will be very easy for you to become your brand to become a pay-to-play on Amazon and win.
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing with that, it's always a blend too, right? Of the advertising strategy and the organic strategy, and they do play together, especially getting started. So I think that's some great advice that you've given there. So you kind of answered this along with the last one, but if there's any specific times, but is there anything else that you could say about, are there any specific times of the year in which some Amazon sponsored ads are more effective than others?
I think it's actually about having a holistic strategy, where you've got to think there are so many brands that only invest heavily in Amazon advertising at key periods, and then the cost per click is so incredibly high. Well, how about thinking outside the box and driving more awareness of your brands and products outside of those peak periods, which then allow repeat purchases and the reviews to be built up, and your new products to have some momentum in the algorithms to then convert more successfully at your peak periods. Now, at the peak periods, you then need to tweak that strategy and almost say we need to drive maybe more sponsored products at that given time, but maybe holistically across the year have more sponsored brands on the platform.
Got it. So with this, in this one, not to throw a curveball at you, but thinking about, some of the clients that you've helped, is there anybody that you think of, and without naming names or anything, that you could say, I kind of gave some of this advice, some of this practical advice, the slow but steady, and it just really paid off. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe like a scenario where they followed the Etopia playbook, if you will, and it really made a difference?
So look, the Etopia playbook has Amazon advertising as a strong pillar, but I really believe it starts with grassroots stuff. And the grassroots stuff that it starts with is actually, who are you as a brand? Who is Amazon to you as a brand? Is it your number one retailer? Do you want it to be your number one retailer, whether it's vendor or seller? And actually unpicking it from there. Do you have the right amount of forecast and stock to service the needs of Amazon? Are you investing in content with Amazon, because the keywords and the importance behind optimization and how your products appear and your brand appears on Amazon is fundamentally so much more important. Are you analyzing the data of your sales to understand where your customers are? What's your average selling price? Have you understood the challenges that you've got in operations, and are you servicing the requirements of Amazon? Once you've created those formulas, I call it a layer cake. This to me is your basics. If you are doing your basics, I'd say good. I would never say excellent, because I don't think anybody should be complacent and say that they feel that they're excellent in this area. There's always room for improvement. If you think you're in a place where you're doing this in a successful way, I would then start adding layers, and Amazon advertising is that layer, which is you've optimized your content, you've got some fantastic keywords. Well, how are you going to get people to search for it? Well, you're going to need the ads to do it. Yeah. It's the same like product videos, it's like images in an image gallery. You've got a tick box exercise. Have you got 6 images in an image gallery? Yes or no? Tick. Are you then at every 3 to 6 months checking the conversion of your images, tweaking your images perhaps, rotating the gallery, adding a product video? These are, I'd call, layer cakes of how to win. And that to me is the Etopia way, because this is the strategy. It's a strategy that doesn't stop. It's a strategy that never stands still. You should always be wanting to do more. You should always be wanting to add more, and never being satisfied with what's worked yesterday isn't always going to work again tomorrow.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice. Keeping your house in order, getting your house in order before you really get going with the advertising, because you mentioned stock and everything else, and running out of stock is one of the quickest ways to push yourself down the list when it comes down to where you're ranking, because no one can buy your product at that point in time. So it's a lot of planning that goes in there. So some great stuff.
Just to add to that, Jeremiah, just on that point around stock, you said without naming names, I think it's very easy for us to talk about that Amazon mindset here piece again, which is a lot of brands will create these great plans to invest X in Amazon advertising and X in DSP, which is another way of maximizing on Amazon advertising. But they forget that they haven't built a forecast, or they haven't thought about that conversion rate that may increase substantially and the implications on that. So what do? Do you go steady and slow and keep investing and then just hope that you're going to get stock? What are you going to do if you then have X amount of stock and Amazon advertising isn't converting? Is it time to then use another strategy and tactic, or promotions as an example? But yes, these are exciting things that you've got to constantly monitor and manage throughout the course of managing your Amazon account.
Yeah. So thinking about that, think about forecasting for 2023. If somebody is going through this exercise right now, they're trying to forecast for 2023. Is there any any pieces of advice that you'd have, just saying like, these are some things that you might want to start with, or some major considerations that you want to make when you're putting together, what my brand is going to be next year?
The first bit of advice I'd give to everybody or anyone that's listening is your forecast is wrong from the moment you put that number down. Let's all accept that, because nobody can ever forecast correctly. And with Amazon, there are peaks and troughs that you could look at. So data being the number one advice. Now, actually last year, this is a question that was posed to me quite frequently, which is, where should brands be forecasting? Because they were comping on a couple of years of COVID and Amazon excelled so much. Should they be trying to anniversary the sales? The reality of that situation is, I think it's been a challenging year for Amazon across almost every market. I would take your forecast back to probably now 2020 and looking at some of those numbers. Also have the reality of the fact that last year, this year, Amazon hosted 2 Prime Days. Will they be doing that again this year? We don't know, but you're going to have to think about, how do you want to anniversary those sales? Will you be willing to go as deep in some of those discounts? And also looking at general traffic sales, a traffic data that is accessible to all on what's happening in those markets. Also looking at category information. Where are your products ranking in terms of bestsellers? Where were they ranking last year? Have you been able to increase your products in the bestsellers ranking? And would you be able to add more forecasts based on that? What are already thinking about the key items that you want to drive for Black Friday and Cyber Monday next year? Already forward planning to that and forecasting higher numbers based on that, and then working backwards to put a solid plan in place to achieve some of those numbers in quarter 4. And that's where, I call it the layer cake. That's where you've got a base forecast, but you then say, right, if I then spend X in Amazon advertising, what will that do to my sales in terms of ACoS and ROAS? And what more forecast will I need to add based on the return on ad spend?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's again, I like how you keep kind of coming back to layered cake, because it really is. No one can look at this single threaded. If you do that, you're bound for failure, unfortunately. And that's where, like, from the DataHawk side, that's where a lot of people come to us, and they probably come to you as well, as they've made that misstep, and now it's like, okay, I need help. So right now, like, if you're thinking about, so let's talk about advertising for just a second. And when you're thinking about, from your experience, what's the most crucial element to consider with Amazon advertising specifically? Data.
If you think you've got enough, still gather more. All advertising decisions need to be backed by data, and your strategy needs to be backed by data. Don't get emotionally attached to the categories that you've got. ASINs, search terms, don't get attached to this. If something is not converting and is not part of your SEO strategy, just stop spending. And just because a keyword has high search volumes, it does not mean you should target it. It might mean that it's not relevant enough for you, and the competition is likely to get to be saturated. So the bottom answer to this is data.
All right. Data. As a person who works for a company called DataHawk, I like that answer, but that's a little so for this, I appreciate the answer to these questions, and I think it'd be great for people to hear a little bit more about Utopia. So tell me, or tell the audience, like, if you had to say that you specialize in specific kind of brands or specific kind of Amazon sellers, companies, who do you specialize in, and how do you help?
So I'd like to represent us as a boutique agency, and we offer almost every service in the world of Amazon, but our heartland is strategy consultancy. We love working with brands that need support and strategical advice. And one of our service offerings that we do is called audit and assessment. And what we do is we work with businesses that already have a sophisticated business with Amazon, but don't know how to take it to the next level or want to make it more profitable. And what we do is we work alongside you. We audit and assess your business, and we come back with very clear recommendations of what could be your 3-year Amazon business plan, and what are the things that you need to do to change, adopt, develop, to embrace the challenges that Amazon poses to you, and what you could be achieving in 3 years' time. So audit and assessments are the heartland of our business. We also love doing expansion projects, whether that's across the globe or across the EU. But we love working with brands that want to expand their business offering into the world of Amazon and other markets. And of course, we do content listings optimization, Amazon advertising, data analytics. We also offer training, and we love doing training because we love seeing people develop their skills and their Amazon mindset.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how could these fine people get in touch with you or Etopia if they're interested in checking you out?
So please feel free to have a look at our website, which is at www.etopiaconsultancy.com. I can also be found on LinkedIn, Asha Balsod, through LinkedIn. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing some really great advice for everyone for 2023, telling us a little bit about Etopia and your background. This was awesome. Again, folks, I'll just say it for everybody. It's okay. It's okay. Get some help. I will tell you, the road to the riches on Amazon is a challenging one. So you can never get enough help. People like Asha do an amazing job working with clients every day to help them master the game. And over here at DataHawk, we help you understand it through our tool as well. So thank you very much for attending, and we hope to see you all soon.
Thanks.